Your question raised quite a number of issues. Since then, some other explanations have come. Are you satisfied with the explanation so far that indeed the GBC only got $105,000 of the 3.6 million contract sum, and that the rest of the money might have gone to third parties contracted by the GBC itself to undertake some activity or work in respect of the All African Games coverage?
Good evening to you. Good evening to your listeners. I would have to be questioned by the people of Ningopa and Palmy if I said I was satisfied. I asked the Minister of Youth and Sport a direct question. How much was paid to GBC? I didn't ask him about third parties. I asked him about GBC. How much was paid to GBC for the All Africa Games? He said in excess of $3 million. In excess of $3 million. He was categoric, and I asked him again, I repeated, I said, so you paid $3 million to GBC? He said, yeah. He made these comments under oath. At no point in time did he reference third-party players. And so, if GBC today, and again, Professor Amin Al-Hassan did not say that he received in excess of $3 million and that he used part of the money to pay third party and only $105,000 was for GBC. He didn't say that. He said the receipts of the monies, when he was asked by his host on GTV, he said the transfers came through the bank. There's receipts for all of this. And you are told specifically what the money is for and what you should use it for. In the tape he played, he said all of those. So if he had received $3 million or in excess of $3 million with clear specifications of X amount going to this agency, X, he would have stated things. He said the only monies they received was $105,000. Now, the disparity between $105,000 and in excess of $3 million is huge. And we need to investigate and interrogate that.
Sure, but since that interaction between yourselves as PAC and the minister, further information has come out. And of course, can we not excuse a minister that, he's a minister. He may get just headline information. And as far as he knows, the contract he signed with the people suggests that the contract sum is $3.6 million. In fact, he couldn't even say the 3.6. He said in excess of $3 million. Now, the contract sum indeed is $3.6 million. GBC, in their letter to your committee, look at the wording, or listen to the wording. It said, of the total payments made for the games, GBC was only entitled to $105,000. Therefore, the statement that GBC was paid in excess of $3 million comes as a surprise. So, the total amount for the production, as stipulated in the contract, could be $3.6 million. And indeed, the letter also says that it is important to clear that GBC was the official broadcaster, but not responsible for the technical production of the games. Of course, the technical producers will have to be paid. The technical production was outsourced, as GBC did not have the equipment to produce the games. And so the following organizations were responsible for the technical production, PGS, Quality Media Production, the production room, etc. So the point the ministry is seeking to make is that, yes, the total amount of money that left the ministry coffers for the coverage, which GBC was to oversee, was 3.6. GBC is also saying that, yes, out of that, perhaps, we were only entitled to 105,000 for dedicating a channel and all of that. So where really is the disparity? The money was paid, but the money was paid to the outsourced people and also to GBC, and GBC's portion is just 105,000. So maybe we need to investigate how much the others got, not to say that the GBC got all the 3.6 million. Are we together?
You're not together, Selom. Selom, apart from this job you hold as the anchor for Eyewitness News, I know you to be a corporate comms person, corporate communications person, and also a lawyer. The contract you cited, was it between GBC and third parties, or the ministry and third parties, or the ministry and GBC? It was a contract between the ministry and Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Have you seen any contract between the ministry and those third parties, or GBC and those third parties? No. Secondly, when Professor Amin Al-Hassan was speaking this morning, he was categoric in the claim that the only monies that came to GBC and that the bank transfer advice is evidence of same is $105,000. Now, if the ministry signed a contract with GBC for $3.6 million, it will suppose that any third party would be a subcontractor. This is Contract Law 101. Any third party will be a subcontractor of GBC. There must then be an SLA, a service level agreement, between GBC and its third parties. However, the government of Ghana through the Ministry of Youth and Sports will make whole payment of 3.6 to its contractor GBC. And GBC, on the basis of its SLAs with its third parties, will then effect payments to those third parties. So if the 3.6 million did not go to GBC, and GBC was only paid 105,000, when GBC had a contract for 3.6 million, as a lawyer, Salom, does that add up? And even Professor Amin Al-Hassan's letter to the Public Accounts Committee that you have cited states emphatically that the minister was in error. So it cannot suggest that the error is arising from me or my interpretation. And that Professor Amin Al-Hassan is trying to absorb himself of receipt, and GBC, of receipt of 3 million, in excess of 3 million or 3.6 million as the case may be. The minister then has questions to answer to the Ghanaian people on where the remaining $3,495,000 went to. Because if it's 3.6 million and 105,000 went to GBC, it means there is a disparity of 3,495,000. The minister has to explain to us where that money went to.
The ministry official I just spoke to says that they have documentation from the GBC talking to them about third parties. And indeed, a portion of the contract says that, if any third party is to be dealt with, there should be a written consent of GBC, So they have this correspondence. Also, correspondence from GBC saying that pay third party A this amount of money out of the 3.6 million contract sum. So that documentation is there. Perhaps the Public Accounts Committee should ask for documentation. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That perhaps the Public Accounts Committee should ask for those documentation so that we can all be privy to it and that we can push the discussion to its logical conclusion. Yes.
The beauty of you being a lawyer and a journalist is that you are able to put your legal training to bear for the purposes of your listeners. I appreciate the fact that journalistic ethics may mean you cannot take a position on the story you are covering, but you can give your legal opinion on the subject matter. I have asked you a question in my previous submission. If there is a parent contract between GBC and the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and GBC is supposed to carry out work through a third party, where does the contract lie? Does the contract lie between the third party and Ministry of Youth and Sports, or the third party and GBC?
Sam George, we need to see indeed the arrangement or the agreement between GBC and that third party. We need to see that and see what the mode of payment will be before we can drive this to a logical conclusion.
You are avoiding the question I'm asking you. The contract we have all seen is the one between the Ministry of Youth and Sports and GBC. That contract is in the public domain. Any other contract that you are referencing is not in the public domain.
Yes, but the fact that it's not in the public domain, Sam, doesn't mean that it is the entirety of the situation.
We are doing this not to witch hunt, but to educate your listeners. So please engage me, or please just accommodate the questions I'm asking. The point I'm making is the contract we have all seen, which is the parent contract, is between the Ministry of Youth and Sports and GBC. Now, that parent contract says GBC may engage a third party, true or false. But that parent contract states what the total amount for the production and broadcast is, 3.6 million. So GBC can engage any third party, and like the letter to PAC, they've engaged 3 third parties. Did GBC have a service level arrangement or agreement with a third party? And if that is the case, did GBC receive the money and do onward transmission, or authorize those payments those are questions that need to be answered.
Very well. Exactly. And I'm with you on that. But we do not have that explanation yet. And we are saying that both of us.
And so it is within my remit as a custodian of the public purse, representing the people of Ningo Pram, whose taxes amount to that are part of the 3.6 million, to demand answers to the
exactly. So we are all demanding answers. We spoke to the ministry official. We demanded quite some answers. He provided some answers. We will try to speak to...
He provided answers by word of mouth.
No, some answers, yes.
Word of mouth will not suffice.
Of course, we know that.
We need to see contracts.
Yes.
We need to see the contracts, and we need to see the bank advices.
I'm with you on this. And it says that they are preparing a comprehensive statement and that they have paper trail, they have correspondences between the GBC and the ministry. They've promised to release that soon. This letter came in today. Perhaps they are putting their house in order. I'm not speaking for them. But if by tomorrow next we do not have that, then we'll all go after them, all guns blazing. So it's a fantastic thing you did to expose this. And you've given us the lead, and we will follow up. But for now, the point I'm making is that the GBC's own letter to you leaves some room for leaves some wiggle room. For example, they said that GBC was only entitled, means that out of the 3.6 million, they could only
that letter is of no legal consequence because
that letter seeks to explain the circumstances to you.
Pastor Amin Alassan cannot claim GBC was only entitled to $105,000 when a contract between the GBC entered into by him on behalf of GBC and the Ministry of Youth and Sport says that they were entitled to 3.6 million. That contract is the parent contract. So,
yes.
Amin Alassan cannot make that claim and then expect that we will take it hook, line, and sinker. That's one. Two, there's a second part to this question, the question I asked, which Amin Alassan attempts to answer in his letter to the GBC, where I made the claim that I have evidence to the effect that GBC technicians who worked for the production and broadcast of the All-African Games had not been compensated adequately. He claims that 100 in his letter, he claims that is not correct because every technician who worked earned 100 Ghana cedis a day. But that will not be the case. Because I have in my possession, and I'll also be putting that out, memos from the Workers' Union of GBC threatening to put down their tools and stop the broadcast midway through the All-African Games because of the conditions, the fact that they had not been given any remuneration. In fact, at a point in time, one of the technicians of the GBC collapsed on the site because there was no food, there was no water, they had worked from morning, no food. He collapsed. I have his name. I will put it out. And so you see, this thing is a twin pregnancy. The issues between the Ministry of Youth and Sports and GBC, and then the treatment of the GBC staff themselves by management. I have memos, I have copies of the minutes of the meeting between the Director General, Professor Amin Alassan, and management, and the leadership of the Workers' Union, intervening and begging for the workers not to stop the broadcast. So there are issues that we will interrogate. When we are done discussing the money matters, even if it was $105,000 that was paid, we need to now understand from GBC how that money was disbursed and who got what and how it was paid. Because we are told that foreign broadcasters who came through the same GBC were paid 1,000 Ghana cedis a day as stipend. So why were the Ghanaian staff of GBC paid 100 Ghana cedis? Questions have to be answered. And like I said, PAC is where we've started this. But thankfully, I serve as deputy ranking on the communications committee, and GBC comes under that committee through the Ministry of Information. We will do a proper investigation of the issues surrounding the All-African Games, expenses, releases, and disbursements to staff. That will happen.
Very well. Sam George, thank you so much for bringing this up. Sam George is MP for Ningo Pram.